Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about the preview that we've gotten so far about the Monster Hunter Primal Crisis event. Now, depending on when you're watching this, the event may already be live, so you probably know all of this and more. But at the time I'm recording, I am just looking at the preview of the banner that has released today. We got a trailer of the banner that mostly just serves as fan service, has some really cool artwork and video footage that just makes you get excited to summon on the banner. So not a lot of information from that, but definitely a lot of hype from it. And we also have details on the event itself that are contained within the game, as well as on a website for the event. So I haven't really made a proper dedicated video to talk about Monster Hunter yet. I talked about it a little bit in my Galaluka summoning and went into details on the initial teaser trailer that was posted for the event that was pretty hype as well. But now that we actually have banner details, I want to do my typical banner review. So you can think of this as us answering the question of whether or not you should summon. But of course, as I think I've matured a little bit with the game, that question is never so simple as a strategic choice. It's often a very personal choice. And honestly, a lot of times you really don't need to summon if all you care about is clearing the latest content. Yes, you're going to get some more powerful characters, perhaps, who are on the cutting edge as far as power, but really the hardest content right now is Expert Agito Uprising, Volk's Wrath, and some of the Master High Dragon trials. I don't think that any of these characters today will necessarily make a big difference in whether or not you can clear content like that. It's more, do you actually want to pick up these limited time Monster Hunter adventurers and dragons? So here we go. I am first going to look at the event teaser. So this came out a couple days ago. We found out about this before the details of the banner. Apparently the characters here are from the Monster Hunter series. I'm not super familiar with them, but let's just read through what this has to say. Soratorium SOS, urgent. Hunters of this world, I implore you. Our ship has crash-landed in wholly unfamiliar territory. Locate it and rescue the members of our research team. We shall supply you with equipment and weapons suited for the task. But tread lightly. We have received troubling reports of unknown monsters in the area. Even Arathalos is said to have darkened these skies. Good luck and happy hunting. Coming soon to Dragalia Lost. Dragalia Lost X Monster Hunter, Cross Monster Hunter, Primal Crisis. The scenery may have changed, but one thing sure hasn't. It's hunting time. Okay, so fun little backstory. I wonder if we're actually going to go through any types of open-ended or dungeon-like maps where we'd actually rescue some of the characters who are here. I doubt it. I do think this is going to be wholly boss-focused. One of the cool things is if you look at the logo for the event, Primal Crisis, the way that they have depicted Midgardsormr, I think that that's in a pose or art style that's similar to how Rathalos is depicted, so that's pretty sweet. And then, on the second page, we just see defeat the raid boss and claim an exclusive 5-star dragon. Now, this is very different than our typical raid information. Oftentimes, in a normal raid, what we'll see here is the actual raid boss, and then gathered along the ground are going to be 16 characters who are taking on the boss, one of whom happens to be the free character that comes with the raid event. You're going to probably know this before I do, but I think, just based on the fact that this is quite different, this is not going to be a normal raid. I don't think that we will necessarily get a free character because we're getting this free Rathalos, and I think that Rathalos will be stronger than a normal welfare 5-star dragon from these raid events. I think this will be on par with gacha dragons, maybe not quite as good. I could definitely see them going with like a 50% strength aura on this, maybe like a 50% strength, 20% HP or something. That would still be very strong, and stronger than a lot of things that we have in the game, but technically not strictly better than anything. Even our 30% strength and 30% HP dragons, you could still make the case that they provide a little more HP. So I think that this will be a stronger than normal dragon, maybe not in exactly the way that I've described it. Another possibility, as we'll see on the banner, there's some interesting things with the dragon there. Another possibility that relates to that is that Rathalos could perhaps be a neutral element dragon, or a flame element dragon who can be used on any character. That would also be something quite special to Rathalos. So whatever ends up being the case, it's a sweet dragon. Hopefully it's good and it's not a bad dragon. As bad as that is to say, some of the welfare 5-star dragons that we get, they are nice when you're first starting off. They fill crucial roles. I used the raid welfare dragon Pele for a long time before I actually summoned 4-star dragons, 5-star dragons who could replace her. So for a beginner, probably going to be one of your best dragons for a while. But eventually, and especially at the point we are now with how generous this game is when it comes to summoning, most players tend to have better options than these raid welfare dragons. So hopefully they recognize that, give Rathalos a little bit of special treatment, a little bit of love, and it ends up being better than the likes of Meridimus, Sylvia, Pele, Shishimai, Ebisu, and so on. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this preview. Let me go ahead and open up the notices board. We have the banner information here, and crucially it says Part 1. We also get details on the event just below it, and I believe this is where it was announced that there was a teaser trailer and special website. So I don't see anything else here that we have missed, so let me go ahead and start with the event details. Alright, so let's see if this has some more information about the nature of this event. First of all, it mentions the duration of the event's banner. It's been corrected apparently, so it's the 29th to the 16th. The event will start on the 29th. During the event, you can use co-op play to fight against a raid boss, so confirming it's a raid boss, with no elemental attunement. Hunting season opens in the Dragalia Lost game as monsters from another world begin to appear. Alongside new allies from the Soratorium, the prince must stand against the impending threat and fight as a team when confronted by Rathalos, King of the Skies. King of the Skies, actually, in Dragalia world, belongs to Jupiter. I don't know if that's a nod or just a localization overlap, but that is the name of High Jupiter's wormprint. The time has come for the prince and friends to test their hunting instincts. So, yeah, not a lot of extra detail here about the event, but there's a lot of other events running alongside this. So there will be a celebration to help commemorate the event. The biggest thing, in my opinion, is this daily free tenfold summoning. We got daily free summons recently on the banner where we got Kirsty, we got Yoakum, and that was Windswept Harbingers, as well as Flames of Reflection, but it was one single summon. Certainly nice, it's great to have free summons, but really, unless you manage to pull a 5-star, not the most exciting thing in the world. When we're talking about free tenfolds, that is when everybody gets hype, wants to do those right at reset. It just feels like there's so much more possibility, and indeed, there is more possibility because of the amount of free summons we're going to be able to do. It looks like we'll be able to perform free summons once per day from the 29th until the 7th. You can perform up to 10 tenfold summons during the 10-day period, so you can summon 100 times for free on this banner. That is a huge relief after summoning a lot for Galaluka. I feel like I may have a chance of getting the characters on the banner now, so I'm really glad to see that. I think that will come as welcome news to a lot of players. Nobody ever wants to turn down free summoning, so make sure you log in to take advantage of it. Otherwise, we're also getting a login bonus. The login bonus looks really, really good. There's a weapon that's being given out. There's Damascus Ingot, Sunlight Stone, a 5-star Dragon Summon voucher. So it does look quite good. It was posted on the website. And then there are some upgrade events. So there's one for the flame element and light element of the Imperial Onslaught. These are going to correspond to the element of characters on part 1 of the banner. There's also double stamina recovery speed happening, so your stamina is going to recover twice as fast. Always a pain to manage, but if you really think about it, even if your stamina fills up at times, it's not like you're losing out compared to before the double stamina started. You're at least getting as much stamina as you had before, even if you top off. So hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of it, do some extra grinding, play some extra quests in the Monster Hunter event. All adventure upgrade event. Drop rewards you can obtain from elemental ruins will be doubled, and the expert difficulty is going to be available for all elemental ruins for the duration of the event. Good, it's a good way to catch up. Likewise, double drops for dragon trials, for all dragon trials. And then, this is quite interesting. From February 5th to February 12th, we're going to have double drops for water IO. And then, from the 13th to the 19th, double drops for wind IO. Notice that this is not a complete cover of all the elements of Imperial Onslaught. That was one of the things I thought at first was, oh, we're getting flame, light, so I guess they're going to do wind, water, and shadow. But they actually just do water and wind here. So this has led some people to believe that part 2 of the banner, which is still a mystery to us, is going to feature a water element character and a wind element character. Now, I do hope that is the case. I would love to see what's on that banner. I hope we get more free 10-folds for that banner, since it's going to be hard to pull all of these awesome 5-star units, even if you're doing a free 10-fold every day. But that remains to be seen. We have seen some artwork of Cerise, which suggests that she is a water element archer, so it's likely that she'll be one of these characters, unless she ends up showing up as a welfare unit by surprise. And the wind character, who knows who it could be? Perhaps it could be an alt of Yuden, maybe it's Pia, maybe it's somebody else, maybe it's Hawk, who knows? I've always wanted Hawk to get his justice in the form of an alt, and he is a hunter. He is a really cool looking character, so if not now, I'm sure he's going to get his alt eventually, but that is one of the few characters who I have powered up completely as far as altars, Fafnir, weapon, everything, so he's one of my favorites for sure. But anyway, that's it for the event details on that page. Let's get into what I think most people are here for, which is the banner analysis, banner discussion. Like I said to start off the video, I really don't think what I say here is going to sway whether or not you pull. Obviously, you're going to be pulling anyway to do those free summons, but do keep in mind, try get whoever you're going for with your free summons first. I know it's hard, try to be patient. I'm going to really try hard to be patient this time, especially because there's that part 2 of the banner around the corner. If you go in day 1, guns blazing, spend all your resources, it's unfortunately going to mean you're not going to have as much available on part 2. And with 100 free summons, this isn't single summons you're getting every day. 100 summons, there's a decent chance that you pull one of these units and get to save your Wormite for another day, for another limited banner. And as it says right here, if you're ever wondering how to check whether a banner is limited, when they announce it, they will use language specifically around that. So it does say this will feature limited time adventurers and a limited time dragon. It's kicking off right away. It's actually lasting quite a while, I believe the whole duration of the event. So what is likely to happen is that midway through this banner, we're going to get the part 2 banner. Okay, the first character is Hunter Berserker. The first unit we really found out about, who we knew would be part of this event, has the really cool Rathalos armor. With this armor, I am ready for the hunt and for glory. Berserker the Hunter, clad in armor wrought from the legendary Rathalos. Having deemed the beast a worthy adversary, he set out to take it down that he might truly know what it is to feel alive. The hunt promises to be his ultimate satisfaction. So we do have a lot of flame swordsmen in the game, but Hunter Berserker is not like every sword unit. He is actually designed to be like a great sword wielder from Monster Hunter. So let's look at his skills. I apologize, as I am not going to know which of these are references to Monster Hunter. What I have read is that it is a pretty faithful treatment of Monster Hunter in terms of the design of the characters, but I can't attest to that myself, so you'll have to let me know in the comments below. But Berserker's first skill is Moonbreaker. Cool name for a skill. I assume that's a move that you can do in Monster Hunter. Deals flame damage to enemies directly ahead and reduces their defense by 5%. This defense reduction effect will not stack. So I believe what that means is that you can't apply it multiple times. However, notice there's no time limit on that effect. So unlike a lot of defensive debuffs, I think, unless I'm wrong about how the game words things, is that just an indefinite defense debuff? And that's why it can't stack, to make it not busted? That's how I'm reading it, at least. You know, let's take a pause. Let's go over to the teams. I just have to confirm this because I don't know if I'm crazy here with this. Let's look at Pazuzu. He has a defensive debuff. Okay, it doesn't tell you how long it lasts on this. So forget what I said. It's probably not permanent. Let's look at Ezlith just to be sure. She has a debuff as well. Normal attacks reduce enemy defense. It doesn't even explain the percentage on hers. Let's look at Flash of Genius. Yeah, so the game is not super descriptive about what things actually do. And I've said this in my past couple of banner discussion videos, but remember, when you're looking at these previews and even looking at the details after the banner has come out, you really want to look at a third-party resource, because otherwise you're not going to know the SP costs on these skills, you're not going to know the percent damage modifier, so there's a lot of unknown information that is invisible to most Dragalia Lost players. But in any case, regardless of how Moonbreaker works, it's not going to stack, so you're getting a 5% debuff. It's a first skill, likely to charge fast, so effectively, you're probably going to have full uptime on this debuff, whether or not it's permanent, and from what it sounds like, it's probably not. Lion's Maw increases the damage of the user's next Force Strike by 80%. This damage increase will not stack. Pretty large buff on a single Force Strike. Normally, you're going to be spamming a lot of Force Strikes as a sword unit, but with Hunter Berserker, his playstyle may be completely different. He does have the same typical co-ability that many sword units have, Dragon Haste, which is somewhat unremarkable. You know, it usually doesn't matter too much exactly when you get your dragon, but in some harder fights, it can matter. It can enable things like speedrun strats or dragon tanking strats, so it can matter, but it's not super important. But his Greatsword Expertise +2 differentiates him from other swords. Grants the user a unique Force Strike and increases Force Strike damage +30%. Their Force Strike has 3 increasingly powerful charge levels and deals 20% increased damage to enemies in break state. In addition, they are immune to knockback while charging their Force Strike. Really, really awesome. I like when characters feel differentiated in how they play. It's normally only really special characters who get this type of treatment, like Gala characters, or in some cases limited characters who have unique movesets or unique play patterns. So I think it's cool that they've given him this unique mechanic. I assume that the charge animation and knockback immunity during that is a nod to Monster Hunter, and dealing extra damage to enemies in the break state seems like a nod as well. He has Sleep Res of 100% and then Reduced Defense Devastator of +20%. Increases critical rate by 20% against enemies with reduced defense. Kind of a mouthful, but I think the easiest way to think about this is something like exploiting the enemy's weakness. So it's a long-winded title, but really it's like you tag the enemy with Moonbreaker, they have a defense debuff on them, you're maneuvering around them with your Force Strikes, playing kind of carefully, dodging, dealing powerful blows that you've charged up with an 80% buff, 30% extra damage on your Force Strikes, increased damage if you've broken the enemy, and increased damage if their defense is reduced. So it feels like a very careful and methodical way of taking down an enemy, and I love that about it. I think that that's probably true to the series, and it's similar when it comes to our second featured unit. So Hunter Vanessa is a 5-star, just like Hunter Berserker. Get your tail in gear, there's hunting to do. Adventure details Vanessa the Hunter clad in a set of Kirin gear. She and her adorable feline companion venture through streams, woodlands, and volcanoes in search of prey. And, as a bonus, she's picked up some fine new land skills from Elisanne. So anytime that there's a chance to bring Vanessa and Elisanne together, or Julieta and Elisanne together, I think that the devs are keen to do it, and I'm here for it. I love it. So I appreciate that. I hope she's in the story. Really cool how just like in the background of Berserker's art, you can see Rathalos. Apparently here in Hunter Vanessa's art, you can see Kieran. And from what I've been told, this white hair is characteristic, or like a wig, an adornment that's part of the armor. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was shocked to see Vanessa like this because Vanessa is so known for her red hair. In fact, let's take a look here for a second, because I think her epithet is even red-haired warrior. This is what she looks like normally. Certainly a sweet unit, you know. She beat up this guy over here, totally took him out. She has something going on there, a cup in her hand, so you can think what you will of that. But in any case, Vanessa, really sweet brawler type of character, had a lot of good experiences playing with other people using Vanessa in High Midgard Swarmer from the very early days of Standard. So it's a character I have a fondness for. Didn't recognize her at all, but knowing that this is kind of the iconic look with the Kieran armor, I think that it makes sense. It's awesome. It's cool that she's wielding a lance now. She's an attack unit as well, and let's take a look at her kit. So for skills, Hunter Vanessa has Corkscrew Jab, deals light damage to enemies directly ahead and inflicts paralysis. It does look like Kieran has a lightning aesthetic or vibe, so dealing or inflicting paralysis I am okay with. I do sometimes think like the afflictions have gone to an extreme, especially with all these Punisher mechanics in the game, but it's actually a nice ebb and flow with respect to the meta, because afflictions used to be really bad with how they were designed. So I don't mind. I'm still here for these affliction-based characters. And as we'll see, it seems like Hunter Vanessa has a lot more than that. So her second skill is Enraged Guard. Activates Enraged Guard for 3 seconds, very short duration. Upon using the skill, the user will also be granted immunity to knockback for 3 seconds and take 70% less damage from the first hit they take in those 3 seconds. So it's almost like a parry mechanic, from what I can tell. A perfect shield mechanic. Your timing needs to be on point with this. You don't want to spam this on cooldown. Hopefully AI don't just cast this and waste it. You need to know that you're about to get hit, so you have to have some knowledge of the fight that you're in. But if you do successfully take damage during Enraged Guard, her strength will be increased by 30% for 90 seconds. That's a long duration, and 30% is a sizable buff. Now I do wonder on this, since this is technically a skill, but the Enraged Guard is an ability or an effect, a buff that you have on you. I don't know if buff time will increase the duration of that 30% strength buff, but if it does, 90% is such a high base number that increasing that with buff time, it could potentially become very high. I'm not suggesting that you necessarily do that unless you need some type of shadow res, because there's a decent shadow res and light buff time print that Vanessa could use. But I'm just throwing it out there. That's a long duration buff. We really don't see buffs of that type very often. It's also quite possible that by the time that buff runs out, you've already gotten Enraged Guard back and have it ready for use. So at this point, Enraged Guard will be removed, none of these effects will stack, and this skill will not provide a damage immunity window. So to be clear, this damage immunity window, I guess, is their technical term for what we often call iframes or invulnerability frames. The fact that when you use a skill, you can avoid damage from attacks. So it's not going to be able to help you out in that regard, but of course it makes sense because you're not going to be knocked back, and it has to have you take damage for you to get the buff. So kind of a cool mechanic. Basically get hit, get angry, and then deal a lot of damage. And it synergizes well with something else that Hunter Vanessa has going on. So let's scroll to her abilities. Core ability, HP, typical of lances. but her abilities include Lance Expertise +2, grants the user a unique Force Strike, and increases Force Strike damage by 30%. It has 2 charge levels, so far very similar to Berserker. After the first level is charged, damage taken from enemy attacks will be reduced and the user will initiate a counterattack when damaged by certain enemy attacks. Once their Force Strike is fully charged, it will reduce enemy defense by 5% for 15 seconds. This debuff will not stack. So I have to wonder, once you use your Enraged Guard, it only lasts 3 seconds, but if you start charging a Force Strike during that, you need to have the first level charged, and then damage taken from enemy attacks is reduced and you'll initiate a counterattack when you're damaged. I do wonder if there's enough time to charge that first level of the Force Strike so that you can counter in addition to intentionally taking damage to raise your strength. I'm really not sure with the charge if it's like you're charging in place either, or if it's like a charge that you hold with you. Sort of like when you're playing, say, Smash, some characters like Samus, you can charge up your first skill, you can charge up your neutral B, right? And carry it with you at full charge. Or like Donkey Kong, you can carry your punch with you at full charge. If it's something like that where you passively charge it up on the side and then unleash it whenever you want, it would not be an issue at all because you could activate this skill and then immediately go into your Force Strike to hopefully counter in addition to getting the strength buff. I'm very curious to see how it'll play out. I really don't know. So maybe it's already been seen in some of the footage that has been shown so far. I know a lot of people analyze that teaser trailer really thoroughly, but either way, new play styles, new play patterns, I am all about it. Curse res of 100%, pretty typical, pretty expected, and then reduced defense devastator of 20%. Exactly what we have, right? Exactly to the word on Hunter Berserker. So I don't mind that at all. I kind of love that the collab characters feel cohesive among themselves. Like if you look at the Fire Emblem Heroes crossover event, all of those characters had abilities that involved being on low HP. And granted, it's not necessarily the most relevant translation of Fire Emblem mechanics to the game, but I do think maybe it's a nod to things like Vantage and Desperation and generally low HP strats or getting a last boost when you're on low HP. So I think it's kind of a cute nod, and I would imagine that this reduced defense devastator is going to be thematic and probably will also be present on the other characters when we get part 2 of this banner. Or maybe they'll have something related like reduced defense strength, which would also be very powerful. So both of these units look really amazing and fun to play as. Who knows how they will actually work out in practice? It's not enough information to go off of, but certainly having that high of a critical rate against a virtually guaranteed lower defense and being able to lower defense to begin with, as well as deal more powerful Force Strike damage. A lot of things here look good on paper, so we'll see how these adventures pan out. I'm also expecting them to be a little bit more skill intensive to use because of the unique mechanics, especially Vanessa, because she has this Enraged Guard and then her Force Strike has a counter built in. So I hope that you get both of them, and I hope that you get Fatalis, our 5-star dragon here, on your summoning. But let's go ahead and get into Fatalis. I know the video's gone on pretty long now, and there's a lot to say about this big boy. He is so cool. Conflict made flesh, death inescapable. I don't know anything about him. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Fatal is in the name, so you know he's got to be a bad dude, a bad dragon. The black dragon of legend from another world, its name has been whispered in fearsome tones since antiquity, for it is said to have raised entire kingdoms in but a night. Such stories were thought more fairy tale than truth, and yet, dun dun dun, so we don't know what is the rest of that. I guess we have to pull Fatalis to be able to read his story, or maybe look on the wiki or something like that, but here we go. Dust Explosion, his first skill. That's okay, deals shatter damage. We have no idea what that's going to be like as far as I'm aware, or what his animations will be like. You probably know better than I do. As I've said already in this video, but the abilities here are what makes him very unique and very interesting. So first look at the Shadow Strength of 30%, right? That's okay. It's not good on its own. It's below par for sure to give a character only 30% strength as a 5-star dragon when you're max unbound. Then look at the second ability, or first ability chronologically, Strength and Ending Shapeshift equals Curse 2. Notice this doesn't have the word shadow here, so this is technically an ability that can be used by adventurers of any element. They wouldn't get the second bonus, but they will get that first bonus. And that first bonus, pretty good. Increases strength by 50%, period. No matter what, this ability is going to increase your strength by 50% on any element character. That is something we have never seen before. Then, keep reading. When the user's shapeshift is undone, they will be cursed for the rest of the quest, irrespective of their element. So, the way this is worded, the language here, it's separated out. You're going to get that strength buff no matter what. From what I read here, you don't have to shapeshift in order to get the strength buff. That is a permanent buff. And in fact, Fatalis curses you if you shapeshift, which I've heard is very on point for the Fatalis armor. Apparently that's also sort of cursed. So I think it's very, very cool implementation, a good way to bring a drawback. And we don't yet know, at least I don't know, what types of potential synergies this may have. Perhaps Affliction Guard could block the curse. Perhaps characters with 100% curse res can block the curse. Maybe characters like Hildegard can use their healing that restores and cleanses curses to remove that curse, meaning you could actually take advantage of the dragon transformation. Otherwise, even if you're not planning on transforming, basically you get to enjoy and combined 80% strength on a shadow character or 50% on any other character. So if there's no pressure to shapeshift in the quest that you're in, you're getting a huge aura of strength applied to your character in their adventurer form. And this is particularly relevant because there are a lot of shadow characters who don't necessarily want skill damage in comparison to just pure strength. So some of the ones that come to mind immediately are Delphi and Durant, of course. Their damage comes a lot from their basic attacks, and in Delphi's case, his Force Strike and the poison that applies. So they really want dragons like this, and I would imagine at 80%, when we're talking 80%, there's probably going to be some other characters as well, since we've seen in other elements that an 80% strength dragon, like Garland, for instance, if you can keep that 80% strength, a lot of times that ends up being better than value for characters for whom skill damage wasn't their big priority. So I expect Fatalis to be quite good. Not sure how good yet. I think those cute type of interactions with things like Hildegard or Curse Res, Affliction Guard could come into play, but realistically, more often than not, you're only going to want to use this on shadow characters, and shadow characters are not the best at cleansing curse. Some of them can use Affliction Guard print, specifically after an eternity. That could be good on, say, Summer Verica, but all of that remains to be seen. I just think Fatalis is a cool design, good way of executing upon high power at a cost. So I'm really looking forward to this banner. I hope I can get lucky and get my way out of this banner in my free summons, but if not, you will see me at the end of that period, as I will likely be summoning on this banner at a minimum once I've secured anything too hard to pass up on the second banner. Then I will come back to this one. But we are just hours away at the time I'm recording this from the Monster Hunter event. If you are in the midst of it right now, I hope that you're having a great time with it. Enjoy, have a great day, have a great event. I'll be sure to make some videos on it as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you next time.